There is a peculiar tendency within the human psyche to doubt what is real and chase what is uncertain. The mind, shaped by past wounds and unconscious fears, often mistrusts the very presence of something genuine. When love appears not as chaos but as calm, not as obsession but as quiet certainty, it feels unfamiliar, and what is unfamiliar is often questioned. But real love does not announce itself with noise. It does not demand attention through extremes. Instead, it moves subtly, like an undercurrent beneath the surface of your awareness. It is found in the small, repeated actions that require no applause. It is in the way this person remains consistently, steadily, without the need to prove anything. The unconscious recognizes truth long before the conscious mind accepts it. There is a part of you that already knows it feels safe in their presence. It does not feel the need to perform, to impress, or to guard itself constantly. Yet the ego, shaped by past disappointments, whispers doubts. What if this is not real? What if it disappears? This is where inner conflict begins. Understand this. Love that is true does not create confusion. It does not pull you into emotional chaos or leave you questioning your worth. Instead, it invites you into a deeper relationship with yourself. It brings your shadows into the light, not to harm you, but to help you grow. Because real love is not only about comfort, it is about transformation. This person does not try to control you. They do not seek to possess your identity or diminish your individuality. Instead, they stand beside you as you become more of who you truly are. They respect your silence, your thoughts, your complexity. And in doing so, they mirror something essential back to you, your own wholeness. Doubt often arises not because love is absent, but because it is unfamiliar. You may have been conditioned to associate love with struggle, with unpredictability, with emotional highs and lows. So when something stable appears, the psyche resists it. It feels too simple, too calm, too real. But simplicity is not emptiness. Calm is not absence. These are the signs of something grounded, something authentic. Look closely, not with fear, but with awareness. Observe how this person shows up in your life. Not just in moments of passion, but in moments of stillness. Not just when it is easy, but when it requires patience. Love reveals itself through presence, through quiet loyalty, through understanding that does not need constant explanation. Do not let old wounds distort present reality. The deeper truth is this: when someone truly loves you, they do not make you feel lost within yourself. They help you find yourself. They do not create inner chaos. They bring a sense of alignment between who you are and who you are becoming. And so the question is not whether this love is real. The question is whether you are willing to trust it, because sometimes the greatest obstacle to receiving love is not the other person, but the walls built within your own psyche. Lower them, not blindly, but consciously. And when you do, you may finally see what has been there all along. A love that does not need to shout to be heard. A love that does not need to chase to be felt. A love that simply is. Do not doubt it. This person truly loves you in a way that does not always seek recognition, yet quietly shapes the space around you. Their presence is not built on fleeting emotion, but on a steady psychological investment that reveals itself over time. You may not notice it at first because it does not arrive with chaos or urgency, but with calm repetition and grounded attention. The human mind often doubts what feels stable because it has been conditioned to associate intensity with truth. Yet real love moves differently. It does not confuse your inner world or disturb your sense of self. Instead, it allows you to feel seen without effort and understood without constant explanation. There is a deeper layer within you that already recognizes this connection, the unconscious response to authenticity, before the conscious mind can rationalize it. This is why you may feel a quiet sense of ease when you are with this person, a subtle absence of fear, a natural unfolding of who you are without the need to perform or protect. And still the ego interferes. Shaped by past disappointments, it begins to question what is present, creating doubt where there is actually clarity. True love does not demand that you become someone else. It does not impose control or create dependency. It supports your growth while respecting your individuality. This person does not try to complete you because they recognize that you are already whole. Instead, they walk beside you as you discover deeper parts of yourself, even the parts you have hidden or rejected. This is where real connection exists, not only in comfort, but in the courage to face the shadow within. You may feel uncertain because this kind of love does not follow the patterns you have known before. It does not rely on emotional highs and lows to prove its existence. It is consistent, patient, and quietly powerful. It remains even when there is nothing to gain and nothing to prove. And that is what makes it real. If you look closely, you will see that their actions align with their presence, that they remain when it matters, that they listen without resistance and give without calculation. This is not illusion or temporary desire. It is a form of connection that is rooted in something deeper than surface emotion. The only question that remains is whether you will allow yourself to trust what is already true within your experience, or continue to let old fears reshape something that was never meant to harm you. Love reveals itself through consistency, not intensity, because what is real does not rely on moments of emotional explosion to prove its existence. It is built quietly through repeated actions that form a pattern the psyche can trust. Intensity often captures attention, but consistency earns belief. One creates excitement while the other creates security, and the human soul, beneath all its defenses, longs not for chaos but for something it can rest within. There is a tendency to confuse powerful emotions with genuine connection, to assume that the strongest feelings must indicate the deepest truth. Yet, intensity is often unpredictable. It rises quickly and fades just as fast, leaving behind uncertainty and emotional exhaustion. While consistency operates differently, it is not loud or dramatic. It is stable, grounded, and patient, revealing itself not in grand gestures, but in the quiet reliability of presence over time. The unconscious mind does not measure love by what is said in moments of passion. It observes patterns. It notices who remains when there is no urgency, no conflict, no need to impress. It pays attention to who shows up again and again without being asked, and through this repetition a sense of safety begins to form, not forced but naturally developed through experience. Consistency creates a psychological environment where trust can grow without resistance. It reduces the need for constant questioning because actions begin to align with expectations. There is no confusion to interpret, no mixed signals to decode, only a steady rhythm that allows the mind to relax and the self to emerge without fear of sudden withdrawal or change. Intensity, on the other hand, often stimulates the ego rather than the deeper self. It can create attachment through emotional highs and lows, pulling a person into cycles of anticipation and doubt, making them believe that unpredictability is a sign of passion, when in reality it often reflects instability. And the psyche, though temporarily engaged, remains unsettled beneath the surface. Real love does not seek to overwhelm your senses. It seeks to integrate into your life in a way that feels natural and enduring. It does not require constant validation because its presence is already evident in the way someone treats you over time, in their ability to remain steady even when emotions fluctuate, in their willingness to be present without needing a reason. What endures is not what shines the brightest in a single moment, but what continues to exist when the moment has passed, and in that quiet continuation, love reveals its true form through consistency rather than intensity. The unconscious expresses truth beyond spoken words, communicating in subtle signals that often escape deliberate awareness, yet leave a deep impression on the psyche. It does not rely on language or carefully constructed sentences. Instead, it reveals itself through tone, gesture, silence, and the patterns of behavior that emerge without conscious control. What a person truly feels is often embedded in these unnoticed details, forming a layer of meaning far more honest than anything intentionally said. Words can be shaped, adjusted, and even disguised to present a desired image, but the unconscious does not operate with such precision or manipulation. It leaks through micro-expressions, shifts in attention, inconsistencies in behavior, and emotional reactions that arise spontaneously. These elements carry fragments of truth that cannot be fully suppressed, no matter how controlled the outer presentation may appear, and the mind, at a deeper level, registers these signals even when it cannot immediately interpret them. There is a quiet intelligence within you that responds to these unconscious expressions, a sense that something feels aligned or misaligned without needing clear explanation. This intuitive awareness is not irrational, but rooted in the psyche's ability to detect patterns beneath the surface. It observes not only what is being said, but how it is being said, and more importantly, what is being revealed unintentionally. In relationships, this dynamic becomes especially powerful because connection is not sustained by words alone. but by the underlying emotional reality that words attempt to describe. A person may speak of care, commitment, or affection, yet their unconscious behavior may reveal distance, hesitation, or contradiction. And this disparity creates a subtle tension that cannot be ignored, even if it is not immediately understood. At the same time, when someone's unconscious aligns with their words, there is a sense of ease that emerges naturally. There is no need to question their intentions or search for hidden meanings, because their presence, their actions, and their energy all move in the same direction, creating a coherence that the psyche recognizes as truth. This is why silence can often communicate more than speech, because in silence, the unconscious has space to express itself without interference, revealing what lies beneath the surface of controlled language. It is in these quiet moments that authenticity becomes visible, not through explanation, but through presence. To understand others, and even yourself, requires attention not only to what is spoken, but to what is consistently shown beyond words, because the unconscious, in its subtle and persistent way, continues to express truth whether it is acknowledged or not. Genuine love supports your individuation, not your dependence, because what is real does not seek to reduce you into something smaller or more controllable. It moves in the direction of expansion, encouraging the unfolding of your authentic self, rather than binding you to the needs or expectations of another. This kind of love recognizes that wholeness cannot be achieved through attachment alone, but through the continuous integration of your inner world. Dependence often disguises itself as closeness, creating the illusion of connection while quietly limiting personal growth. It demands reassurance, control, and constant validation, pulling both individuals into a dynamic where identity becomes entangled and unclear. In such a state, the self is no longer fully expressed, but adjusted, shaped by fear of loss rather than guided by inner truth. And over time, this leads to imbalance, where one or both begin to feel constrained without fully understanding why. Individuation, on the other hand, is the process of becoming who you truly are. It requires awareness, confrontation with your shadow, and the courage to stand in your own identity without relying on external confirmation. Genuine love does not interrupt this process, it protects it, allowing space for growth while remaining emotionally present. It does not interpret independence as distance, but as a necessary part of psychological development. There is a quiet strength in a connection where neither person feels the need to possess the other, where presence is offered freely rather than demanded. This creates a foundation where trust replaces control and respect replaces fear. Each person remains rooted within themselves while still choosing to share their life with another, and this choice, repeated over time, becomes the true expression of love. The unconscious responds differently in such a dynamic. It does not experience the anxiety that comes from instability or over-attachment. Instead, it begins to relax, allowing deeper layers of the psyche to emerge without resistance. This creates a sense of inner balance where connection enhances identity rather than diminishing it. When love supports individuation, it does not ask you to abandon your path, your thoughts, or your inner voice. It invites you to explore them more deeply, knowing that your growth does not threaten the connection but strengthens it, because a relationship built on two whole individuals is far more resilient than one built on dependence alone. What is real does not restrict your becoming. It walks beside it, allowing you to evolve without losing yourself, and in that space, love exists not as a need, but as a conscious and enduring choice. Emotional presence is deeper than grand gestures, because what truly nourishes the psyche is not the intensity of occasional displays, but the quiet reliability of someone who is genuinely there with you, fully attentive, fully engaged, without distraction or performance. Grand gestures may capture attention for a moment, creating a powerful impression that feels significant, yet they often fade quickly, leaving behind a subtle emptiness when they are not supported by consistent emotional availability. There is a tendency to equate love with visible acts, dramatic expressions, or symbolic demonstrations that appear meaningful on the surface. Yet these acts, while not without value, do not necessarily reflect the depth of a person's inner connection. Emotional presence operates on a different level. It is not concerned with being seen or admired. It is concerned with understanding, with attunement, with the ability to sit with another person's inner world without needing to change it or escape from it. The unconscious responds not to spectacle, but to authenticity. It recognizes when someone is truly present, when their attention is not divided, when their listening is not selective, and when their responses arise naturally rather than being calculated. This kind of presence creates a sense of safety that cannot be manufactured through occasional acts of intensity. It allows the self to open gradually, without fear of being dismissed or misunderstood. Grand gestures can sometimes function as compensation, filling the space where emotional connection is lacking. They may appear generous or impressive, yet they do not replace the quiet moments where real connection is formed. In silence, in shared understanding, in the simple act of being there without needing to prove anything. And when these moments are absent, no amount of external expression can fully sustain the bond. Emotional presence requires patience and awareness. It involves noticing subtle changes in mood, responding with sensitivity, and remaining engaged. Even when there is nothing exciting or dramatic happening, it is found in the consistency of attention, in the willingness to stay rather than withdraw, and in the capacity to hold space for another person's experience without judgment or avoidance. This form of connection does not overwhelm the senses. It settles into the psyche, creating a steady sense of trust that grows over time. It does not rely on memory of isolated moments, but on the accumulation of shared presence that becomes part of your internal world. What endures is not what impresses in a single act, but what remains in the quiet continuity of being understood and accompanied without interruption. True connection confronts your shadow, not just your light, because what is real does not limit itself to the polished and acceptable parts of your identity. It moves into the hidden layers of the psyche, where discomfort, fear, and unresolved patterns reside. This is where the deeper work of relationship begins, far beyond attraction or surface harmony, in a space where both individuals are gradually revealed in their entirety. There is a natural desire to present only what is admirable, to be seen in a way that secures approval and avoids rejection, and this often leads to connections that revolve around the light, around qualities that are easy to accept and celebrate. Yet this creates an incomplete bond, one that cannot sustain depth because it avoids the very aspects that shape the human experience most profoundly. The shadow contains everything that has been suppressed, denied, or pushed out of conscious awareness, not because it is inherently negative, but because it has not yet been understood or integrated. And when two people truly connect, this hidden material begins to surface, not as a threat, but as an invitation, an opportunity to face what has long been avoided. This process can feel unsettling because it disrupts the image you hold of yourself. It reveals contradictions, insecurities, and emotional patterns that may not align with how you wish to be seen. Yet it is precisely through this exposure that transformation becomes possible, because what is brought into awareness can no longer operate unconsciously. A connection that only celebrates your strengths but avoids your complexities remains fragile. It lacks the depth required to endure change and challenge, while a connection that can hold both your light and your shadow develops a different kind of strength, one rooted in acceptance rather than illusion. The other person in this dynamic does not seek to fix or judge what they encounter. They remain present as these deeper aspects emerge, offering a space where you can observe yourself more clearly, and in doing so, they become a mirror, reflecting parts of you that might otherwise remain hidden. This is not always comfortable, but it is meaningful because it allows you to move toward greater wholeness rather than remaining divided within yourself. What is real does not turn away from your darkness. It meets it with awareness, and through that meeting, something deeper than attraction begins to form, a connection that is not based on perfection, but on truth. Love that is real brings inner peace, not confusion, because what is genuine aligns the inner world rather than fragmenting it. It does not create a constant need to interpret signals or question intentions. Instead, it settles into the psyche with a quiet clarity that allows you to feel grounded within yourself. Confusion often arises when there is inconsistency between words and actions, when emotional signals are mixed or unpredictable, and this creates tension within the mind as it tries to make sense of what cannot be fully trusted. The human psyche seeks coherence. It looks for patterns that confirm stability and safety, and when those patterns are absent, it becomes restless. searching for meaning in every detail, analyzing every interaction, attempting to resolve an uncertainty that continues to reappear. This state of confusion is not a sign of depth or passion. It is often a reflection of imbalance, where something essential is not aligning beneath the surface. Real love operates differently. It does not require constant analysis because it does not produce contradiction. It is expressed through consistent behavior, through presence that does not shift unpredictably, and through an emotional tone that remains steady over time. This creates a sense of inner calm. Not because everything is perfect, but because there is a fundamental reliability that the psyche can recognize and trust. There is a difference between intensity that excites the mind and stability that soothes the soul. Confusion is often mistaken for depth because it engages attention so strongly. It pulls you into cycles of questioning and emotional fluctuation, making the connection feel significant simply because it is mentally consuming. Yet beneath this activity, there is often a lack of true security, a subtle unease that does not disappear. Inner peace, on the other hand, does not demand constant focus. It allows you to exist without being preoccupied by doubt. It gives space for your thoughts to settle and your sense of self to remain intact. You are not pulled into overthinking or emotional extremes. You are simply present, aware, and at ease within the connection. This does not mean the absence of challenge or growth, but it means that even within difficulty, there is a sense of mutual understanding, a continuity that does not break under pressure, and a clarity that remains accessible even when emotions fluctuate. What is real does not leave you questioning your worth or your place. It reinforces a quiet sense of belonging within yourself and within the connection. And in that space, the mind no longer searches for answers because it has already found a form of truth that does not contradict itself.